And we ended up paying almost $250,000 for those few generators, and it was pretty wild because they were surprised that the money was going right into their pocket. Right, they thought that we're gonna put it in the demo scope, we're gonna pay somebody to get rid of it. So in addition to the money that they made, they saved on the scope of getting it removed because that was part of my proposal.
Hey, what's up, everyone? Welcome back to the CM Mentors podcast. My name is Matt Graves. My host each week is Kyle Grandell. What's going on, Kyle?
Hey, Matt. I'm just hanging out at the side. How about you?
Man, I feel like it's we have to play like Where in the World is Kyle Grandell? Where are you at this week?
Isn't it fun? Yeah, I'm currently in Ohio. I just outside Cleveland.
Nice. Weather nicer there than it was in Utah?
Hey, man, it's pretty nice here. It's in like the 80s today, so I'll take it.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well, this week's
guest.
Oh man, it's the same place I always am. It's hot, as it always is. No rain. We haven't had rain in weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks. It's dry and dusty. So fun stuff.
All right.
Anyway, speaking of someone else who's hot, hey Lance. This week's guest is Lance Furuyama. He's the vice president at Factor X, and his air conditioner just went out. So he's here to talk
California, but it is warm in this room.
Oh, jeez.
He's here to talk to us about salvage, equipment salvage and resale. And I said, well, don't you have a bunch of spare air conditioners out in the back?
Got too good at selling them. That was a problem.
Hey, so Lance, so people who don't know who you are, you want to tell us who you are and kind of what Factor X is?
Yeah, sure. My name's Lance Furuyama. I am the vice president at Factor X, based out of Gilroy, California. And we primarily buy MEP salvage from commercial and industrial sites. We focus in California, but we do work across the country.
Easy peasy.
Easy.
So just what is salvage, like equipment salvage? Because I mean, we've all done like remodel projects and you're always like left with this big generator. Like, what the hell do I do with this thing? And so
Okay. So I mean, in our eyes, we have a few categories that we primarily focus on. It's backup generators, transformers, switchgear, and chillers. There's a pretty good secondary market for it once it's been removed carefully from the site. A lot of times it creeps into the demo scope, and you end up with just scrap metal by the time it's all said and done. So yeah, we do work at the owner, the GC owner's rep, and as well as the trade partner level. So it just depends who's carrying the scope on removing the equipment.
Are they a lot of permanent installs, or is your equipment a lot of like temporary, brought in during plant outages and when things go down, etc.?
Yeah, so a lot of them are permanent installs, but so like in California, we have a lot of emissions laws that, like, if I owned a building and it wasn't tiered correctly anymore and I want to move that generator down the road, the air quality district isn't going to permit it for use again. So we end up with a lot of working equipment, and whether it was a change in ownership on the property or a tenant moved out and that belonged to them, that equipment's still good. It probably still has another 15 and 20 years of life. And up till recently, it was just getting scrapped. I mean, for the most part, people were emptying out the fuel and scrapping the motors.
That's wild. So do you guys come and disconnect it and actually take it out, or like say the electrician will take the transformer out and then you guys just come pick it up?
Yeah, so we're pretty flexible. I mean, we are actually a licensed electrical contractor in the state of California, so we can self-perform a lot of the work. Ideally, I mean, it just depends on the situation. A lot of times, they'll just say, "Give us a check and have a truck show up, and we'll load you up. We're good to go." And for me personally, in operations, that's the easiest deals that we have. But it just depends, right? A lot of it comes down to cost, and we are, as an electrical contractor, we're actually not even for hire. The reason we got our license was we couldn't find anyone to safe off when we had all the power outages. Everybody has contracts with the utility company, so when there's outages, they jump that way, with the contract.
Interesting.
So are you guys seeing a pretty good boom the last couple of years with all the lead times on electrical equipment?
We are on the sales end. On the procurement end, it's been tough, right? With the interest rates and just the way the market's been, people are afraid to make a move. I mean, in tech, they've had probably hundreds of thousands of layoffs in the Bay Area in the last, I don't know, year or so. So, even if somebody has the authority to say, let's get rid of this piece of equipment, everybody's just trying to lay low and not really rock the boat or make any waves, right? It's stay unseen at this point. and also on this, in California as well, we're seeing a big shift in work from the private sector over to the public and infrastructure sector, with some GCs that I don't traditionally think of in that space, but that's where the money is right now.
We were doing a project a few years back, and I wasn't really intimately involved in this part of it, but I remember overhearing it that we were doing some transformer change outs, and the client had an old transformer. It was kind of a spare that they had. It was probably, I don't know, it was older, right? It was kind of a couple of generations older, and it had been retrofitted, or at least, kind of serviced and cleaned up and whatnot. And they were saying, the electrical engineer was saying, like, there's a whole secondary market for those transformers because, one, they're lower cost than a brand new one, right? It's like a used car a little bit. You kind of you don't have the upfront sticker shock, but also they're grandfathered into some older codes because of their age of manufacture. You know anything about that? Is that true?
A lot of times we'll get them recertified, but it's really it's as far as transformers go, I haven't seen a whole lot of just take it from A and put it into B. I mean, we work with some of our partners to make sure that it's still good to go, because you don't know what the treatment, what the environment was where it sat before, right? I mean, that's a lot of liability to take on to save a few bucks.
And so are y'all actually retrofitting them, or?
Yeah, we have partners that, depending on where we're picking up the units from, we send it out and get them recertified before they hit the market again.
I got you. Go ahead, Kyle. Ask me about a silly code question.
Well, I was going to ask Matt, where are you buying your used cars at? Because I see more sticker shock on used cars these days. Holy crap! Are you kidding? Jesus, used cars are outrageous, man.
Back in 21, I wanted to sell my wife's car and buy her just a beater car, just because I was like, everything was crazy. And just, she kind of puts around town. She doesn't go on long trips or anything. If we go out of town, we take my truck. And I just wanted to get her something to get around town in. And I was like, oh, everything, the new cars will shake out. And, in 22 or 23, we'll be able to buy you a new car for a hell of a deal, because they'll flood the market, right? And the prices they'll be given away. I'm so glad we didn't do that, because we'd have overpaid for a junker and still would have been in a bad spot. So anybody that thinks I can predict the economy and is asking me economy questions of what I think the economy is doing, I have no clue.
Whatever Matt says, just do the opposite, and you'll probably nail it.
100%.
Asking for some investment advice after this. Yeah, there you go. That's where I was headed with that.
Just do exactly the opposite of what I do, and you'll be a millionaire overnight. It's a get rich quick scheme right there.
Oh man.
So Lance, so you were saying a lot of work in California. Do you guys do a lot of work outside of California too, or kind of how does that work with your company?
Yeah, so we do right now. Like I was just talking to somebody over in North Carolina, and a lot of times when I make those bids, I let them know, hey, it's a lot for me to mobilize from California. So my best offer that I can probably make is going to be with your contractors prepping it, your crane loading the truck, and me providing you with as much money as I can. That's because it's tough to be competitive coming from the West Coast when you're working, in the South or Southeast.
I totally understand it. Every job I go to, I'm traveling in, and so I'm always competing with local contractors, in my bids. And I mean, it has to be a pretty case by case basis for me to even have a shot. It has to be a relationship there and some past history, I guess.
Yeah, it's historically, so if people weren't scrapping generators or other equipment, what they were doing was putting it out to these brokers who say, hey, that thing's worth $2 million. And you're like, oh, wow, $2 million sitting in my backyard. And, the thing is, they're not going to write you a check for $2 million, right? It's best case scenario, they find an end user that their timelines line up with what you guys are doing. And, how we really ended up in this space is we were doing data center work. We were working more on servers, racks, and that type of stuff. And people kept asking us about generators. And we kept looking at each other like, no, not really. I mean, that's outside of our, outside of our comfort zone. But if enough people ask you, you start to go, maybe we're stepping over dollars to pick up pennies. I mean, we really need to be paying attention here. So what was happening is they were getting these lofty goals for the generators and the transformers. And if that broker had made a deal with somebody else, an end user, the money was good. The thing is, a lot of times the deal would fall through for whatever reason, and you'd be stuck on the day that you're supposed to be loading it out and saying, oh, sorry, my offer is no good. It's actually 100,000. And you're just beside yourself at that point, right? You're never going to talk to the person again, but you're in a position where you have to make a move.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just kind of been like a real unprofessional industry up to this point. So we're just trying to bring, accountability. We make you an offer. We're writing the check ourselves. It's coming out of our account. We're not contingent on somebody else coming through.
No, that's smart. So you're paying cash, you get it, you bring it back, you retrofit it, then it's a whole other resale process, right?
It's a whole nother situation. If the deal turns out to be not as lucrative as we thought, we're not coming back to you saying, oh, well, this and that. We inspected ourselves beforehand, so we know what we're buying. I mean, we own our deals.
Where do most of your stuff come from? Is it from renovation type projects?
A lot of it is big moves. So like right now there's a big life sciences build, or there was up to last year, going on in California. So they were taking a lot of old data centers that, with co-location becoming normal, a lot of these places had their own little data centers that they were supporting their users up to that point. So they were just old infrastructure, a lot of space, a lot of power coming in. So they were trying to retro that to life sciences.
What does that mean? What's life sciences?
Labs, research and development.
Those type of projects.
Pharmaceuticals, yeah.
I see. Okay. Right.
Do you guys Go ahead.
I was gonna say, who's your typical customer? Is it an owner, a general contractor, a subcontractor?
It really varies across the board, but it's typically the general contractors now. In the past, we were finding out about the deals as we were driving around. But then it's already been put in the demo scope or the electrical scope. So we started getting out ahead of it with the project managers and project execs and estimators on the other side saying, hey, when you guys are going to bid on this thing, here's kind of a number that you could plug in.
I picture you like the American pickers driving around in your van saying, hey, they got a transformer over here. They got a generator over there. Let's make a deal.
You'd be surprised how many job sites I went in and they were not too thrilled to see me that day. I have a tendency to find people on their worst day. I said, luckily I have bad hearing and a short memory, so it's all good.
But I bet you get a call back though whenever they get down to like, all right, what the hell are we gonna do with this generator or something?
Yeah, you'd be surprised, and really it's simple business for us, right? We just work within their timelines. If there's been a couple of opportunities we've had to pass on where there was big money to be made, but I wasn't sure if we could get it done in time. So we just said, I realistically don't know if I can get it out in 3 days or whatever it is. We try as much as we can, but our main thing is to not delay a project or hold anybody up, because we know that with some of the scheduling, everybody's just stacked on each other waiting to go.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, Lance, can you kind of help maybe a little bit for the listeners to understand, what does a process look like if a GC got you involved, and if somebody was interested in reselling their equipment, or what was that actually look like? When would you get involved, and what would you guys actually do?
So ideally, we'd get involved on the bid and estimate side. That way, we're able to really have time to, ideally for us, we're selling the unit from the site, right? That's just one less crane, one less truck, less storage on my side. So if I can get out ahead of it, I can provide better pricing because I'm already factoring in that I'm not incurring those extra costs. So it's as early as possible. I would say contact us when you're bidding out the job. We'll give you the numbers, and if you win, then we start working with you when you put your schedule together. And then we're typically pretty involved with the superintendents once that's been assigned, and just making sure that our schedules, typically for a generator, we're in and out within 3 to 5 days. And that's whether it's, if it's, we're talking like 2 meg generators. On the smaller ones, it can be out in a couple of days. But, like there was a project we did once where we got in pretty late, and I don't remember, I won't mention any names on my team. I don't remember who got the deal, but I flew down to Burbank in Southern California. It's supposed to be an easy crane pick. I get there, and all of the concrete and asphalt's been torn off already. So I get there, the morning of the pick. I'm looking around saying, what happened here? And, we just had the toughest scheduling because we weren't directly in communication with the superintendent on the job. We were working through somebody else. I can't remember who the third party was, but it got really messy, right? So they had to go in, pack it back in, make enough of a pad for us to get a crane in there. And it was just I think there was also a rainstorm that was out of nowhere in the middle of summer. It's just the craziest day. So, we're really big on working with the superintendents and PMs to make sure that that's not happening, because I'm sure somebody was pissed off about the cost.
It's funny. It doesn't matter what aspect of construction you're in. It's all the same problems. It's all coordination, communication. If you don't talk to the right person at the right time, and somebody acts, says, yeah, just go get the asphalt out now. It's fine. We'll rip out the concrete. Like, we're good. And then it's a domino effect, man. And then it could take you an extra day, which affects the next guy, the next guy, the next guy, the next guy. It doesn't matter what it is.
Yeah, I think they just tried to jump the schedule for the next Monday because it was a holiday or something. And I don't know what happened, but after that one time, it's never happened again. We've really gone out of our way to make sure we're talking to the right people that are managing the project.
Yeah. Unfortunately, too, what I see sometimes is even like with a general contractor's team, like if you're talking to the general superintendent for the project, the main superintendent for the project, and he understands the plan, but especially if it's a holiday, he may take the week off, right? But he goes, this is the plan. So the assistant superintendent's in charge. The asphalt guy comes in early and says, hey, man, can I just start a day early? He's like, hell yeah, everybody's going to be proud of me. I got done a day early. But
I'm sure that's what happened.
So it's funny. Like sometimes you think you're doing the right thing and you end up screwing somebody up.
Yeah. So back to Kyle's question, we make the deal. We start figuring out the logistics, see who's carrying the crane, who's carrying the removal of it and all of that stuff. And once that's been figured out, we pay and we come in, do our work, and we're out of your hair. And, as much as the money, a lot of times people are requesting the weights and, things for landfill diversion goals. So that's actually been almost as important as money in some cases. I mean, rather than just chopping it on site, now they're saying we diverted 50,000 pounds from recycle or the landfill by reuse. And I mean, I'm not smart enough to know what happens from there, but I know they seem pretty happy about it.
I guess it's playing into their LEED goals or their sustainability, green building goals and stuff, I guess.
Yeah, it certainly would. They get some credits that apply towards that certification. So that's pretty cool. Okay. Good to know.
Yeah.
Who's your
Lance?
Oh,
go ahead.
Who's your typical customer on the man? We're all over ourselves today. Who's your typical customer on the resale side? Like who's buying? I mean, because no project I've ever been on we've brought in a used generator or used transformer. Typically. Yeah.
A lot of my buyers are in markets that honestly don't have the same emissions laws. So, it's been a pretty wide range. I've had a farmer buy a few generators. I had a guy with a cattle ranch. I guess he said when he can't afford to have the power go out once he's done his work with his cattle. So he said pre-cooked isn't the way to go. And we've even had people that were doing like groweries and other things. I mean, people are always in the market for used stuff as long as you can say that it came from a decent environment and provide service records.
That's interesting.
So then do you guys, and sorry if you already answered it, do you do this servicing yourself too then and like refurbish or, recondition it?
We do some of it. I mean, we have partners just because the infrastructure that you require to do that. It's, if I build a place in California, I'll end up buying all of the generators in Texas. It just never, I'm always chasing my tail on that end. So yeah, we have partners that we work with on that end. Okay. A story is we just actually did a deal And it was supposed to be a part of the demo scope. There were 3 generators there, and the data center tenant moved out, and the owner was like, "I want this place for storage, and I just want to keep the main power intact, right? The transformers and the lineup." And we ended up paying almost $250,000 for those few generators, and it was pretty wild because they were surprised that the money was going right into their pocket, right? They thought that we're going to put it in the demo scope, we're going to pay somebody to get rid of it. So in addition to the money that they made, they saved on the scope of getting it removed, because that was part of my proposal, that we handle and self-perform all of that work.
It was like a double win.
It was a double win for them, and they're pretty cool to work with. It was, everybody's in a good mood when you have money in your pocket.
And I mentioned too, if they get you in early, they can factor that into their bid. So if they don't, if they're factoring into the bid, it makes it more competitive, because not only are they saving $50,000 worth in the demo cost, or whatever the demo fee is, you're also paying on top of that $250,000, so they're net $300,000. I mean, play numbers, but that they can be a little bit more competitive in. So
we try to just make everybody look good. I said a lot of times we can go in with just whatever logo or whoever we're working under. If you want to give us some vests, we'll throw on your vest. I mean, we're not out there to be seen. We're just there to do the work and get the stuff.
That's pretty cool, man.
Private label.
Private label transformer removal.
There you go.
So what's the craziest story you have from doing all this stuff? I'm sure you've seen some crazy guys, had some been crazy projects.
Oh man, I mean, other than safety violations from some of the contractors that we're working around, I'm not going to go into those stories. But one of the stories actually we weren't really involved in. We were on site, but we did see somebody. They were about to load a cooling tower onto a roof, and I think that they had estimated the weight wrong, so they picked it up, and the guy was carrying moving the tagline, and the thing broke right into the bushes.
Oh.
Fell down. I think it was 35,000 pounds. I think they had it estimated at like 10,000 pounds or something. So the crane was going off, beep, 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 and people were still like pushing through. So this was actually next door to one of our projects. So I was just being nosy watching, because you hear that beeping and you start paying attention. And the guy fell into the bushes, but they thought that he was under the cooling tower. And I went to that job site the next day to just, we had our crane coming in. I just wanted to make sure that there were no issues with access. And I looked at their board, and it still said no lost time injuries, no near misses, no.
Sometimes I wonder about those boards.
I'm pretty sure most of them are crap. I mean, it's hard to say what a near miss is, I guess, in some people's eyes.
I would imagine a 35,000-pound cooling tower falling into the bushes is a pretty near miss. But I'm not a safety guy.
Well, I would say so. And I've been on sites where they escalate something like that to an incident level because of a certain amount of damage, or it could be a certain amount of time that has to be investigated. I mean, for those incidents that, it didn't come near to hurting somebody per se, but there was a substantial cost impact.
Oh, that would have shut, like every job site I've ever been on, that would have shut down the job site. Like,
oh, absolutely.
Like a safety stand down, like, even if you're not even working on that stuff, safety stand down, we're going to figure out what the hell just happened. Like,
that GC's gone so fast, it wouldn't even be a discussion. They'd be gone.
They would, somebody would be gone,
Yeah, they're pretty wild. They're pretty wild over there. I mean, honestly, what I think happened is I think it was the owner of the tenant was in charge of their own little thing, and I think that's what happened. I mean, you can't be that off and have that happen and continue working.
Do they pre-fill it full of water or something?
Hey, so where's my favorite part of the podcast where you guys ask me who my favorite trade is?
We've done that in a while.
I think it's the electricians, man.
No, come on. I knew there was a bad reason I got you on here.
All right. All right. Now we're talking.
Now we're talking.
Now we're having fun. And actually, you just reminded me of something I've been wanting to do, and I haven't been doing it because you're here, Lance. I'm going to do it.
All right.
And so y'all distract each other, keep talking while I pull up a meme, and we're going to make Kyle describe a meme to everybody who listens and doesn't watch.
So Kyle, how does it feel to come in and clean up after everybody before?
Are you kidding me? That's what I always do, even as a construction manager. But the part of the problem, though, is when I'm in early, too, so that I'm cleaning up my own mess. So.
Who the hell did this? Oh, that's right.
Oh, yeah. That was me. Oops.
Man, that's great. I actually just listened to your podcast on the Hall of Fame.
Oh, did you? How was it?
It was good. It was good. You know, it's cool to hear the backstory. I always call it the origin story just to be an ass, but I like hearing those stories of, you know, you see the not even the finished product because we're all still works in progress, but you get to hear some of the struggles, hear some of the journey, and, you know, realize that everybody's kind of going through that same thing when you're getting started.
Oh man, it's so tough. I mean, everybody talks about it, but I just got it's almost like every week I just learn more and more, and it's just a reminder of how far you've come. And but the hardest part for me is just celebrating the little wins. I mean, because you know you're in the thick of it all the time, and so those little things that it's actually a little victory. You kind of don't really realize it. You don't take the time to appreciate it. You just move on to the next thing.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to work on that for myself.
Pause and enjoy, right?
Yeah. Well, you have to. It's a journey. It really is.
Yeah. Matt's looking hard for that meme.
Yeah, no kidding. Yeah. How long have you been in construction, Lance?
Well, I've been in with Factor X. We've gone through we've spun off some divisions and done some other things, but I've been with them for about 13 years.
Wow.
Yeah, I know, right? 13 years. I'm 15 years old.
Lance, I'll be honest. Whenever I first saw you and met you, first time we did a video chat, I didn't know if you were 15 or 50.
Thank you. Thank you. I'll take that for whatever that is. I still try to serve my ID in the face of cashiers whenever I'm trying to buy alcohol, but you know, it used to be funny, right? And now it's kind of like they're like, "No, you're good." I'm like, "Wow,
come on."
A little too easy a little too quick with that. I said, "Isn't it if you're like 60 or under, you're supposed to be checking my ID?" Little hurtful. They probably get it all day.
Well, it happens. I'm getting some gray coming in now, so whenever mine gets checked, I'm like, "You're kidding me, right?"
And so, hey, I've connected with both of you on LinkedIn. So, I mean, how's that been for you guys? I mean, let's flip the script a little bit. How has that been for you guys in your endeavors? I mean, it does take a little bit of time to stay engaged, and you know, I've been learning so much that I found that that's where the real value for me is, right? Like meeting people, but also learning and understanding a little more about what everybody else's like hot topics and struggles are.
I've really appreciated LinkedIn. Like I really got on it kind of selfishly, honestly, because I was building a newsletter and I was like, hey, I have to advertise this thing. So I got on there just really to sort of like build that up and like, you know, and I tried posting it on like Reddit and I got like chirped off Reddit. I got on like Instagram and TikTok. I tried to like just start putting in places and like I think for especially any sort of like honest construction talk, or at least like more than just memes and funny videos of construction talk, like LinkedIn is the place to go. You can go to Reddit if you just want to hear everybody bitch about their job and all that sort of stuff, or you can go to, you know, Instagrams are all, I'm gonna let the cat out of the bag, but Instagram's where I get a lot of my memes from, and so that's good for that. But there's not a lot of good conversation happening there, you know, and so you don't really, and you don't, I mean, everyone's behind, you know, a profile, right? You don't really, I don't know.
You can say whatever you want and have no repercussions, right?
Yeah, like I know who Kyle Grandell is. I meet Kyle Grandell over there. I met, you know, electrician kitty memes, and so it's different. But anyway, I've enjoyed it. I've met a lot of really cool people.
Well, and for me, so I've been on LinkedIn for I don't know, 12, 13, 14, 15 years, maybe even like a long freaking time. And I didn't really use it for the longest time. I mean, I had it there. I had a profile. I don't even think I had a picture for the longest time. But
it's just parked your resume, right?
Yeah, basically, and a very crummy one too. It was like a one sentence, and maybe the year of where I worked, and maybe even the place I worked wasn't right. I don't know, but it was a terrible resume. And then a couple of years ago, started getting serious about really trying to grow the company and stuff. I talked with Shelly. If you listen to the previous episode, Shelly Peterson, she's my marketing and promotion consultant. But she was like, Kyle, your stuff sucks. Like you got to start doing a lot better. And I'm like, yeah, you're right. So put a lot of time and effort into getting the profile spiced up and got the website going and really started to understand the branding side of things. And it's just crazy how I mean, it's only been a year or two now, how fast things can grow and take off. And I'm not even saying necessarily business overall. There's been some of that too, but just like the branding, the awareness, the meeting people. I've met some people in South Carolina, just happened to be there for a work trip, and I was LinkedIn friends with them, and they were kind of some big names in the industry, and bumped into them.
Shout them out, man. Who was it?
Yeah. Oh, Adam Hoots and
Hoots.
Angela Gardner. Yeah, Hoots on the ground, baby. Yeah, so met him at an event that he was a guest speaker at, and then I bumped into Angela and met some other folks as well, and it was just super cool to meet them, and that led to another event, is the Next Gen speakers event I spoke at with another group of folks, guys from the Next Gen leaders. Laying Foundations podcast. Super cool guys. And went to an event with them and spoke. So it's just, the networking and stuff. It's just, you don't even know where it's going to take you. And now somehow I'm doing a podcast.
Funny how that works.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just the meeting. Actually, I mean, it's LinkedIn, right? You're supposed to be building your network and all this sort of stuff. But like, it's actually good at it. But you actually you can't be a stalker. Everyone that goes on there and just sits in the corner and just watches or just, consumes. You actually have to engage. You have to start commenting on people's posts, put out thoughtful material, put out engaging material. And it's once you kind of start get into the ecosystem and start building stuff, then I'll go in there and just put a post and ask a question, a general question I have. And hey, I think I know the answer to this, but I just kind of want to poll the crowd, right? And I'll get a whole lot of responses, and it'll either confirm what I thought, or I'm like, "Oh man, I was looking at it wrong." And it's because people may have changed my mind, and so it's actually
changed my mind.
They have actually in some stuff, where I'm like, I'm not going to admit it on a podcast, but it has worked.
All right, so while I'm in the question seat, Matt, you've been really big with the podcasting, with your newsletter. And Kyle, with building your business, what advice would you have given yourself, the 2021 version of yourself, just lessons? Because there are people that are watching you, people that are wanting to do the same thing in some capacity. What are some of the lessons that you've learned along the way that might help somebody else that's listening to this?
I've got two lessons probably. One is I'm going to steal the phrase from Jesse. Just do the damn thing.
Mm-hmm.
I've told myself 100 times, I want to do this, or I'm going to do this. I mean, you say 2021 version of myself, go back to the 2015 version of myself, the 2013 version of myself. You know what I mean? Forever, I've had ideas and things I've always wanted to do, and for one reason or another, I just never pulled the trigger and did it. And so just do it, see what happens. But then two, it's actually a phrase. It's two phrases I've stole. One from Jesse, which I think he stole from somebody, and one I'm stealing from Kyle. And Kyle, I'm really good at butchering things on this podcast, but it was a phrase, it was a phrase you said. It was something like, you'll go fast alone, but you'll go further together. Is that right?
Yep. That's pretty much it.
And it's kind of because I've always just wanted, when I start doing it, I just want to do it by myself. I'm just going to do the thing by myself. But then when you never do it, or two, it's one, I never would have done this podcast if it wasn't for Kyle. And I know he would never have done it for me. It's kind of vice versa, right? We kind of forced ourselves to do it together. But also, if you have the right partnership, 1 + 1 can equal 3. You can really leverage each other and leverage each other's strengths to get a lot better. And so I would say just do it and just don't go alone. So.
Love it.
I like it. Yeah. So Lance, to answer your question, similar along this theme, along these lines, I've been thinking about putting some content out there, and I got a few different points, but I'll give just a couple here, just in case I end up putting that content out there and the people show some interest. So I would say, one of my big ones is about rejection, and just not taking it personally, especially if you want to grow a business and if you want to succeed at something that other people may not want you to succeed at, or they just don't know who you are. You're gonna get rejected. You're going to get banks turn you down for reasons. You're going to have clients not want you for projects. You're going to have people that you want to hire say they don't want to come work for you. Rejection is just part of it. So not taking it personally and moving past that, and not letting it get to you on a personal level and affect your emotions, affect your day-to-day. That's a really big thing. It's it's that whole adage of don't take it personal. And there's a lot of truth to that. There's a lot of parts of business, of course, that they really are personal. But there's just some things that, physically, for your energy, you just can't take it personal. And for me, some lessons I've learned, rejection is one of those. Another one, and I would say, honestly, probably my biggest one, is don't let perfection hold you back. There's always a constant pursuit of perfection. I mean, that's just how high performers are. But sometimes if you don't achieve it, it can actually have an opposite effect. It can affect you negatively, which means your baseline will actually drop. And you might even start performing at a bad level versus a good one. So it's always good to strive for perfection, but not everybody is going to feel the same way you do about it. And so everybody has different standards. And so once you start to really understand that, and you start to realize, okay, this person has different strengths. Maybe it's not the way I would do this, but it'll still get the job done and the customer is going to be happy. So you know what? Maybe it's okay. Maybe it's fine. Kind of learning and working through those things, because that was tough for me. Is I'm very much I dive into something and I just want to grab a hold of it and I want to do it and see it all the way through. And so if somebody else comes in and wants to take it over and do it differently, it makes me uncomfortable. And I'm like, I don't know, but 9 times out of 10, it'll still get the job done, and it'll also still accomplish whatever the customer wants to be successful. So me in more of a project manager, program manager role that I'm in right now, it's one that I'm learning a lot too. Is I got to trust other people that I hire that are qualified, to do their jobs. So don't let perfection hold you back is the ultimate, punchline there.
That's huge. I mean, I'm still learning that. It's
tough. It's tough, man.
So what's the advice you would give yourself, Lance?
Oh, I was just asking questions over here.
No. We ask the questions.
You don't deserve. I deserve it. I think that for me, the biggest thing is just being authentic. I mean, that a lot of people think that means I'm crazy, right? I say what's on my mind. I don't really hold back a whole lot. And that's been a recent change. Like before, if I talk to you or send you an email or whatever, I was the original Chat GPT. I mean, you're like, did a computer write this thing? Because there's no personality, there's no warmth behind it. It's just straight facts, like as if you're looking up, something, looking up some records. I mean, it's been fun. It's a lot easier to just be yourself and not try to be perfect. Like Kyle was saying, for me, it was a worry of if these people. Sometimes I'll joke. Sometimes it's a bomb. It's sometimes it's the bomb. Sometimes it's a bomb. But it's just being me, and I've carried that over to my personal life. Being a lot more vulnerable with my family, my kids, my wife. Life's just good. I mean, it's a lot easier when you embrace the things that make you you.
I love it, man.
Well, that's definitely true. And that's something else too that Shelley was really good talking about is, that the branding side of things. We work in a human-centric environment in construction, and honestly, every industry, it's run by humans, right? We're all human beings. So you got to just really embrace that. And that's what people connect with. And that's what grows networks. It grows relationships. I mean, that's what makes us who we are.
Yeah. People do business with people, right? I mean,
yeah,
that's really what it is. When you have a fondness for a certain trade partner or contractor, it's not the name that's on the door, it's the people that you worked with.
100%. Yeah, and that's what makes or breaks a project too. Like you can have the best company, but if it's the worst team, it's gonna be a failure, right? Or you could have a crappy company, but if they have their A+ team on it, hey, it could be a successful project. So it's all about the people.
Yeah, the thing that really got to me was when I first started getting into this environment, what really threw me is that everybody's so emotionally charged all the time, right? I mean, it's a powder keg, and one thing has to go wrong, and somebody's yelling till they're red in the face, and I'm like, wow, this is different. Like, I've never really seen this as an adult, like people just going crazy. And I'm not sure if I was talking to Jesse or somebody else, but a lot of it is you get promoted because of your production as an individual in a smaller team, and you're just not equipped to deal with the stresses and the responsibility of, you don't want to mess it up. You worked hard to get there, and people just blow up. They can't help it. I mean, there's been a lot of change, at least with the thought leaders on LinkedIn and some of the different divisions within construction. But I'm hoping that people start to really get down to the ground level and impart that it's okay to be yourself. It's okay to have a personality. It's okay to make a mistake as long as you own it and learn from it. Because people are so quick to point the finger that I'm like, yeah, I made a mistake. I own that. And then that's it. Fix it and it's done. It's pretty simple.
Exactly. Everybody's waiting for you to point the finger, and when you're just like,
right.
Yeah, I got it. I fixed it. You're like, yeah, but I want to yell at you because you pointed, like it's done. It's fixed. Just move on. It diffuses quickly. So you're in Jesse's emotional bungee jumpers, aren't you?
I am. I signed up. I didn't even know what I was doing. I just that sounds like fun.
Me and Chris Gutke's the Island Elevator guy, we were in his trial group, like whatever. He's just like, hey, he just like put us in this group or some sort of mentorship group, or I didn't know. And I was like, peer group is what he called it. And I was like, hey, I'll do a peer group. And the first thing he's like, I want to try something with y'all. And we went through it, and I was like, what the hell is this guy doing? And but it was cool. It was like a really cool experience. We did it a few times. We met probably 2 or 3 times, and it was really cool. I think he wanted to use us as crash test dummies before he took it to market, and we were the dummies.
Still alive. It worked out okay.
So how's it going for you?
It's been good. I mean, for me, the big thing that I've struggled with my entire life, and you can ask my wife, is I can apologize for something. I can take feedback, but there's always a but, right? I'm sorry about that, but, or, I see what you're saying, but, and like really just being able to work through that and being able to take feedback and shut the hell up and just take it for what it is, right? I mean, what I put out versus how somebody received it can be 2 different things, whether it's with intention, right? So they may think I meant to be a jerk or meant to put them on the spot or make them look bad in front of somebody. And even though I didn't mean to do that, that's how they received it. So if that's how you made them feel, then that's the truth of what happened. I always tell my kids there's 1,000 versions of you in this world. Everybody has a different interaction with you, a different perspective of you, depending on what you put out to them and what their relationship is to you. So I said, you just have to be mindful that there's people out there that aren't going to like you, because that's just what it is. Everyone's not going to like you, and you just have to accept it, but you have to treat people with respect and do the best that you can.
Well, and Matt, I think we've talked about it before, but isn't there a saying in the industry too, especially a service-based industry, about customers won't remember how much money you saved them on the project. They won't remember how well you kept things on budget or on time, but they will remember how you made them feel. Like that's what drives relationships in our services based world. I mean, construction, we're building things, but it's still services based.
Yes,
it definitely is. And in theory, really, like anybody can build your building, right? Anybody can be your construction manager. It's the experience you give them along the way, right? It was a total pain in your ass. Did everybody go kicking and screaming? The building still got built, but it was an enjoyable experience, right? And that's what everybody remembers. There's more of the experience than, they're going to have this building, unless it's a lemon and everything's falling apart, right? In theory, everybody can do it. So.
All right.
With that said, I finally have a meme.
This better be a good one, man.
No kidding. I think we lost half the audience.
We went from 0 to 0. So.
To -0.
All right. Drum roll.
My only problem is I don't know how to share a screen.
Oh, geez.
Well, you can print it out and mail it to Factor X at.
And for anybody listening, I apologize. This probably won't be cut out either, so I double apologize.
It's 100% not going to be cut out.
Oh, there we go.
All right, Kyle. You have to describe the meme to the audience that's listening.
Okay, so what we have here is, it looks to be a trailer home with a pontoon as the platform, which is totally badass, by the way, if I can say so myself. And then coming off of this pontoon is the steps down to the grass. And what we have this lovely caption. It says, "You need a permit to build a deck. You don't, however, need a permit to park a boat." Well said.
They're probably in the flood zone.
There you go. It's a quick escape vehicle.
Oh, nice. That could be my future home, by the way. So let's just.
I mean, you didn't even mention they have a barbecue grill there and a covered an awning.
Oh, I can't see it because the screen's small.
Oh.
You know, that's probably at like 2.5 million in the Bay Area.
Just the addition, too.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing to resell on this lot, is there?
No, I'll buy the boat.
So that wasn't a complete failure. Thanks for playing along in our first Kyle Describe the Meme segment.
That could be a classic.
I'm happy to do it, but we haven't actually talked about football in a while either, Matt. So we probably need to bring that into the mix here.
We haven't talked about football since it was the Super Bowl, and Marty had no power, and we were trying to kill time. So yeah, we were interviewing the president of the company I work for, and the power went out, his internet went out. He was having to rewire the modem or something, and so he just kept coming in and out. We're like, and I kind of advertised it to our company too. So there's people watching, and I'm like, otherwise I would have just like stopped it and like, we'll just do it tomorrow. And like, no, we're live. And he kept coming in and out, and I'm texting him, and he's super frustrated. He can't get in, and so we're just like, hey, so the Eagles, right?
You know, this part of the podcast, once you hit that 40-minute mark, I call it the deep tracks. I always stick around. You never know what you're going to find.
You never know. So now we're going to have a meme segment at the end, so that everybody hangs around is going to have the that little teaser.
I think next time we should probably print the meme out the week before, mail it to Kyle, and have him open it on the podcast.
That's not a bad idea. Except I'm probably not going to remember until 30 minutes into the recording again.
Or know where he is.
Where in the world is he? Won't know where he's going to be next week. So
no, and I'm just going to screw with Matt and say, "Oh no, I can't find it in my inbox. It's not here."
Well, it's been fun, guys. I appreciate you guys having me on.
Yeah, man. Is there any other little tidbits of Salvage you want to throw at the people?
No, I'll just say check us out at factorx.com. You know, we do also have other lines of business that we work with. We work with like manufacturing and industrial, but my personal focus has been on the general contractor and trade partner side. You know, it's a lot longer for the deal cycles, but I get it. I get what they're trying to do. I get what everyone's trying to accomplish. So it's a lot simpler than working with like a facilities manager or somebody that doesn't know exactly the whole scope of what their business is trying to do, versus me coming to a project and everybody having relatively clear objectives and timelines. So it's fun. I enjoy the world of. I like getting yelled at now and then too. It's, you know,
makes you feel alive.
My wife and I get along really well. So I need a toxic yelling every now and then from some random superintendent.
So people want to
call me. Hey, sometimes people call me and they're yelling at me and I can't get a word in. I tell them they called the wrong guy. I get like the 5-minute yelling at, and yeah, it's good for the soul. It's good to get yelled at sometimes.
So I got your phone number now. So whenever you don't feel like you've been yelled at enough, just let me know and I'll give you a call.
Sounds good. Sounds good. Good deal.
Hey,
give it to Kyle too. He might need it.
I will. So people want to get in touch with you and connect with you. How can they find you?
They can find me on LinkedIn, Lance Furuyama, or you can email me at Lance, LANCE, at factorx.com. That's FACTOR, and the big letter X.com.
So did Elon steal X from you guys, or how'd it go? Was it the other way around?
You know, I tried to take him to court, but For some reason, I couldn't afford the battle.
Touche. Lance, it was fun, man. We'll talk to you later.
All right,
Yeah,
guys.
man, great to meet you.
Thanks.